In this video, I want to share a new browser extension that we built at Shipyard. And this is a bit of a prototype to explore some of the UX patterns around using and working with SIDs locally. So IPFS is a content address system, and we often use that to distribute applications, where those applications are static websites or static front ends. And you get a lot of benefits by taking this approach. You get, a lot of the resilience because you can have multiple providers, and so you get censorship resistance. And we're all familiar with all of these benefits that go even beyond censorship resistance, like also the ability to authenticate a whole front end is actually matching that SID that represents the whole DAG, the whole build that has been Merkleized. And so now that we have these SIDs and they allow us to verify basically a whole front end, we have a new problem, which is mostly a UX problem. Namely, that you still have to get these SIDs from somewhere. And as an ecosystem, I think I've spoken a bit about this in some of the recent talks this year, but the problem that we face is that it's not very clear how you can get those SIDs. And while we have a number of mechanisms, I think we haven't fully landed as an ecosystem on a universal solution. And so what this browser extension does, and we'll give a little demo of this, is it will help you actually to persist locally and keep track of SIDs for different sites. And so some of the mechanisms that we have to distribute SIDs include DNSLink, where we create a DNSLink TXT record, which points to a SID and then is updated every time you make a new release. There's also IPNS, although IPNS doesn't provide human-friendly names. So it does give you mutability, but then you still have to work with a key. And we also have ENS, which is somewhat similar to DNS, but is stored on chain, on the Ethereum blockchain. And this is obviously a bit more verifiable than DNS. It's much more modern, but it also has drawbacks. Like, it's not very easy to verify these ENS records on the client side. We've been doing some work and research into actually making that a bit more feasible. And there's also using just GitHub releases, so Uniswap and some of the other front ends in the Ethereum ecosystems will publish SIDs for every front end release they make on GitHub. Okay, so let's just take a quick look at how this works and what are some of the patterns. Again, none of this is prescriptive, but is more of an exploration of how we could solve this problem as an ecosystem and what that looks like. And a key idea here is that we store these SIDs locally on the user device, a bit like your address book on your mobile phone, where the name you pick is a local name that is pointing to a number that is canonical. Like your mom's phone number is always the same, and it's the same for everyone. Okay, so I've already got this extension installed, and you can just go ahead and sort of create a new app and paste maybe a SID here. But that's obviously like just one user pattern. A much more common user pattern is to actually visit something, a website that is already published on IPFS. And where this extension helps is by detecting. And so it already gives you an indication here. This is an indication that DNSLink has been detected. And so I have the option here to add this app. And this is the SID. In fact, I can probably just verify this by running a dig on the DNSLink, and we can see that it's actually the correct one. It also ends with KOHE. And the way, by the way, that this does this in the extension is by using a DNS over HTTPS endpoint. I am currently using the Cloudflare one, but I'll probably just make that configurable so that you can set your own endpoint. But again, like, DNS is not verifiable. I mean, we could potentially extend the DNS link spec. This is literally an idea that I have just now, to add maybe a signature, like add maybe like an adjacent TXT record where we actually encode a cryptographic signature. And then it looks a bit more like IPNS, or it's sort of like a fusion of the two, where you get the human-friendly aspect, but then you also get the verification. Okay, so back to the extension. I digress. Okay, so this one, it was basically probing for this domain that we visit the DNSLink record, and I can go also just to the docs.ipfs.tech. And here too, we also have a DNS link record, and I can add it, and I can add it. And one of the nice things is obviously SIDs are obviously immutable, but DNSLink is mutable, and obviously we update the DNSLink for every release. And so one of the things that this extension will do is it'll actually detect changes and prompt you to actually save a newer version. But you can also do that manually, so you can actually go ahead and add a new version here, and call it whichever name you like. This is the one that was created automatically and is the default one. Another nice thing, actually, I will take a real one from the IPFS docs repo. So I have the docs repo here, and we use this other action in this docs repo to encode the SID in the commit status for every build. So this is using the IPFS deploy action that I think I'm pretty sure I did a video on. So you can check out that video. I'll also link to it. But okay, so we have this SID for this specific older commit, and I can go ahead and add that to the docs. And so old docs, and I'll paste in the SID here, and there we have it. I can also make this the default, as you can see here, but obviously I want the latest one. And one of the things you can do here on the sort of the main QuickLaunch page is that you can sort of you can go to pick the specific version that you want. So in this case, I can select the older version, and ta-da, it'll open it. And another thing I wanted to point out is that it will always open it in a gateway of your choice, and you can prefer to use a local gateway. So you can configure whichever gateway you want. By default, it'll use the service worker gateway, which does the verification client side. We also have, because we all love, dark themes. I mean, I personally am not a huge fan of the dark theme for everything. And I'm not actually sure why it didn't load. Maybe there's no providers right now. Am I even loading the older version? I can't remember. But let's let's load the latest one. I think the latest one should work. It could be that we don't provide. Yeah, there we go. And okay. So let me just go back to manage versions, and yeah, okay, we're running the default. I'll just delete the older docs because I don't need this, but we can see some of the patterns that emerge here. Okay, so far I did the detection using DNSLink records. Another thing that it can do is do automatic detection of x-ipfs header in the HTTP response. And this is useful for if you're using like an eth.limo. So this is for ENS names that are pointing to SIDs. In this case, we have Vitalik's blog, and I can add it, and we have the SID here. And I will add this for now. But the way that it actually detects it is by looking at the headers. So when you make a request, because it's coming from an IPFS gateway, it'll contain this x-ipfs-path, which will contain the SID of this site. And so because it doesn't have a DNSLink record, it can still detect it thanks to this header that is coming from an IPFS gateway that is backing eth.limo. Shout out to the eth.limo folks. They've really been doing some great work in keeping this ecosystem healthy and making sure that users of ENS can publish sites in a really friendly way, and they're doing all of these nice things. Okay, so this is how you can do the local sort of nickname management. And of course, again, this name is, we obviously give one by default, which is based on the domain, but this can be, any name. And the idea here is my pal's website. is that these are local names, hence the name nickname. Some people call this a pet name, but I think pet names are not as universally understood as nicknames. This is something that Gordon Bremer pointed out recently while working on a different project, and I was very convinced that nickname is a better term for this kind of thing. So that was mostly it for this extension. You can also export all of your state, and so this is what the export looks like. It's literally just a JSON, and it has, the different versions and the SIDs that you're pointing at. And so one of the things that I could imagine us doing with this is publishing these signed JSONs, which include a full directory of dApps and their SIDs. And if that's signed, then suddenly you can know that it's, and again, we can do all sorts of nice things with signatures, like cryptographic signatures. So you can do threshold signatures, or you can do signature aggregation, where you have multiple sort of engineers signing these JSON files that contain basically the SIDs for different releases and for different front ends. And so I do see us moving forward with this as an ecosystem. And again, most of this is a UX challenge more so than a technical challenge. Okay, so how do you install it? Right now, this only works on Chrome. I did look briefly at making this work with Firefox, but browsers can be quite challenging, and they don't all expose the same APIs. Nonetheless, you can download the already built extension from the releases page. Also, use the IPFS deploy action. I'll add it to this repo so that it's deployed to IPFS, so you can download the released version of this extension via IPFS. That would, I think, be a nice thing. And once you download it, if you download this, then you can just go into your extensions page, make sure to enable the developer mode, and then load unpacked. And then you just need to select the dist folder, which contains the manifest.json, which every extension has. If you want, you can also build this locally. So it's just running the npm run build, and you have here the dist folder where you also have that same manifest.json. So with that, I leave you. I hope this wasn't too long. I hope this was insightful. And we're very, very eager to get some more community feedback on this thing, because we believe that this is an important challenge for us as an ecosystem to solve. So thanks so much for watching.